As we're giving tributes, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Coach Chaney. I just heard of this when I got off the practice court that he passed today. And, a lot like Coach Thompson, Coach Chaney was a pioneer, trailblazer, legend, especially from a Black coaching standpoint. I actually got to play against one of his teams my senior year in college and felt really fortunate to have done so. They beat us. They actually gave us our first loss of my senior season. And it's a memorable day because it's also the day that I graduated from college, December 15th, 2003. So certainly condolences to his family and the amount of people that he had an impact on from not only a coaching standpoint, but just from a general development and loving standpoint is truly remarkable. So lost another giant and it's a tough day in the coaching world when you lose guys like that. So with that being said, obviously this weekend, really, really important weekend for our program. The Remember the 10 game is always one that carries a little bit more meaning for our players and our fans, for me, for our administration, and certainly for the families who lost their loved ones in the crash 20 years ago. Time certainly flies that it's already been 20 years. But I told our team today, this game does mean a little bit more in the sense that, we're representing a program who dealt with some really dark times. None of it was darker than January 27, 2001. And when they play tomorrow, win or lose, they need to play in a way that those people and their families would be proud to have us represent the jersey that they represented when they did. So certainly looking forward to going out there and competing against a really, really good team. Watched Arkansas about 7 or 8 times. They're terrific. And it's fitting that we would also be honoring Coach Sutton in that game. Obviously, this is the year he would have been in now, the Hall of Fame. And so to have the teams closely connected to in this area playing against each other is fascinating. I thank Coach Musselman for being willing to participate in us helping to honor Coach Sutton. And look forward to what I expect to be a highly competitive and fun game. I think two teams that like to play really fast, so it'll be entertaining.
Thank you, sir. And your first question will come from Jacob with the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Jacob.
Mike, you'll be happy to know that Bernie did seem like he talked more how Massachusetts was a little colder than New York. He didn't seem to like Massachusetts at all. So I
don't like Massachusetts either. That's where the Boston Red Sox are.
Yeah, I figured. So, hey, just to get it out of the way, is there an update on Cade going into tomorrow?
Yeah, so he's practiced. Just kind of go back. Monday night we weren't able to get out because of the beautiful weather in Ames, and so we didn't get back. Tuesday was supposed to be a big day for Cade. He was supposed to kind of get another evaluation and be able to get some more conditioning in. We weren't able to do that because he had some academic responsibilities when we finally did get back. So Wednesday, he was back on the court. We did that evaluation then. He was cleared to practice, did some contact stuff yesterday, practice today. And so I anticipate him being available. I don't know how much he's going to be able to go. A lot of it depends on how he feels when he's out there, but I do expect him to dress and be available to play.
The versatility, how much with Cade now, if Cade's available tomorrow, how do you kind of handle the lineups now that you've got kind of Caleb and MA, the way they've been playing together, and Bernie too? Because you've gone small a lot more, but now you can use those guys more.
Yeah, the game kind of has a way of taking on its own life, foul trouble, runs, whatever. And tomorrow's game may be even more drastic than some of the others, right? I'll give you an example. You play K-State. You're trying to force the game to be faster. That's not going to be the case tomorrow. I advise anybody watching or coming to the game to be paying attention at all times because you could miss something when these two teams get together. We think we play fast, and we do relative to the other Big 12 teams. And Arkansas plays much faster, not just faster. They play much faster than we do from an analytical standpoint. So it's going to be a high-tempo game. And so that'll kind of – the lineups and how that works out will kind of be determined by how the game's going.
And on the topic of Bernie again, Ice talked about his screens are just brutal, even in practice. And you talked about how good of a screener is. How brutal are those screens? I mean, I know he's not setting a screen on you, but when you watch him set him on his teammates, how brutal is that?
Yeah, Bernie's a part of the reason I don't practice as much as I used to. And I got out there with Juwan Evans and Devin Downey back in South Carolina. So, like, I'm good with guarding guards, but getting screened by a dude 6'10", 260 pounds, not that fun because he wants to make sure he screens you. He doesn't try to slip out. He's not running, trying to get the ball. He's trying to help his teammate get open. And so, yeah, he takes a lot of pride in doing that. It's a big part of us being able to have success offensively is him helping guys get open. And so, yeah, he's a pretty big physical body, and it's something that he takes a lot of pride in.
How did you what led you to Bernie? How did you find him?
So obviously, roster management is priority 1, 2, and 3 for me. Recruiting, you're always trying to find a way to improve year to year what your roster could look like. And we knew we were going to be pretty thin up front, both physically thin and from a depth standpoint thin. And we knew we needed another body and we wanted a different body type. And Bernie was out there. I knew the guys he played for in not only prep school, but in AAU. And just made some calls around, had a chance to kind of get to know him. And they felt confident that he could come here and have success and that he wanted to just have an opportunity to prove himself. So the conversations were, we didn't recruit him that long, but I felt good about the evaluation and about what we would be able to expect from him in terms of providing that depth and girth and size inside. And he's been a joy to have on our program and on our team every day. And he's one of the best teammates I've ever been around.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
The next question is from Ben Hall. Go ahead, Ben.
Hey, Coach. Given the fact that Arkansas has not yet played a Big 12 opponent and, this is a non-conference game later in the year, how difficult has it been in watching their film and learning something about the team? And what is something that's stuck out about this team to you?
They're really, really talented. They have a lot of guys who can make plays. I don't know how – I watch back literally it's all I do. I don't have any hobbies. I watch basketball all the time. So I've probably seen Arkansas play 5 times even prior to starting scouting at them. Now, and when I'm watching them play on a Tuesday night, against Missouri or so, I'm not studying them. I'm just watching the game as a basketball fan. But I also have recruited a lot of the guys on their team. We obviously, we had Devoe Davis committed here for a while. We recruited Bennie Williams. We recruited Moses Moody. And so we know the guys on their team. We recruited KK before he committed. So we know a lot of those kids. We know they're really, really talented. And Muss has done a great job of building a culture of an exciting brand of basketball and really doing a great job motivating those kids and putting those guys in position to have success. The one thing that sticks out to me when you look at their numbers is they have a lot of guys who are capable three-point shooters. I mean, like literally everybody on their team who will play has made a three. And so that's something to be mindful of. We played a little bit more zone here lately, and we got to watch if we can make sure we can get to the number of guys that can make threes on their team.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
The next question will be from Bob Holt from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Hey, Bob.
You mentioned you recruited Moses. What did you think of him as a high school player? What do you think about the season he's having at Arkansas?
Yeah, so a lot has been made about, our recruiting of Cade Cunningham, and they were teammates at Montverde. So I've known Moses for a long time, but I started recruiting him when he was a freshman too. I didn't recruit him as aggressively or as intimately and didn't get to know him, but I've seen him play a lot. He's a terrific scorer. He can really, really shoot the basketball. He's got impeccable footwork for a young guy. And one of the things that I think he does well that doesn't get talked about as much is he's a really good offensive rebounder. And so we'll have our hands full. The one thing we know about him is he's playing with a lot of confidence. And coming off what's probably one of his least productive games the other day, I would imagine he's going to look to be pretty aggressive, especially playing against us and trying to get himself back on track before they head back into conference play. So he's really good, but they've got a lot of really good players. Justin Smith's really good. He's a matchup problem at his position. Jalen Tate's terrific, really does a good job getting into the lane. And, they've got a lot of other young guys, including Devoe Davis and Jalen Williams, who just have continued to get better over the course of the season. So it's a really well-rounded team and one that we'll have to be prepared for a lot of different guys who can hurt you.
And Cade, definitely hope to see him play tomorrow, obviously. What kind of impact has he had? And he had so much hype. Has he lived up to the hype or maybe even exceeded it?
I don't know. It depends who you're asking, I guess. For me, he's been a joy to coach. I had pretty high expectations of him. He's been everything I expected. And the thing that I've enjoyed most is that he does it with a humility about himself. He works his butt off. He's a guy that you ask him to do anything, he does it. He played a 5, played a 1, guard a 5. And so I've been pleased to have an opportunity to be around him. He's helped me as a coach get better, and I hope I've done the same in helping him as a player develop.
And then you mentioned Devoe, who seems like a really great kid, and I'm sure he was committed to you guys, but sometimes in recruiting, especially home state, guys will flip. Kind of what are your feelings about that and how that went down and your thoughts on Devoe?
I love Devoe Davis. He's truly one of the kids that I enjoyed recruiting the most because he's such a humble kid. I don't know if Devoe thought he was as good as I thought he was, to be perfectly honest. He committed to us pretty early. And, I don't know how it changed, but I'm happy if he's happy. At the end of the day, the guys in our program, I want to be here and want to be a part of what we're doing. We're not going to get every recruit, and we're going to lose some more. But if he's happy, he looks like he's having success over there. I'm sure the pull, I know he's really, really close with his grandma and his granddad. And so maybe to have the opportunity for them to see him a little bit more often without traveling, they're older, probably was a draw to him. And I'm sure Musselman and Corey Williams, who I know well on the staff, did a good job of selling that to him. I don't feel like anything wrong went down. He just made a decision, and I wish for him the best.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Next question is from Marshall Scott. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, kind of going back to that a little bit. Is it almost you mentioned how early he committed. Is it almost surprising whenever you do get a kid that commits that early?
I mean, every recruiting situation is so different. We knew we were going to have a big class, so we wanted to try to get one early because it kind of helps, and maybe he can help recruit some other guys. He's really close with Jalen. We were recruiting him as well. We thought Devoe may be able to help us get him. We wound up not with either one of them. So just happens, man. What you got to do is you got to be prepared. That's why we work as hard as we do in recruiting because you never know. And, we obviously were also recruiting Cade and Rondell and Mike Miles. I mean, you're not going to get all of them. I feel good about the ones we got.
And you mentioned you guys going after Devoe, going after Jalen. Eric yesterday said that they were going after Rondell Walker pretty hard. As far as teams out of the conference goes, with the proximity to Arkansas, is that kind of who you find yourself recruiting against most often?
I guess I don't know if I've ever really thought about it that way. We really hadn't recruited against them that much until this past class, really. So, yeah, I would guess it makes sense. The schools aren't that far away from each other. The way, obviously, our styles of play are similar. So, in a lot of ways, it makes sense that we would recruit a lot of the same guys. The only thing's a little different is Musselman's recruited a little bit more aggressively in a transfer market than we have. And so, we'll see. But, we try to recruit J.D. Note a little bit, who they did get as a transfer. So yeah, I could see that. I just haven't given it much thought. I really don't focus on who's recruiting a kid, to be honest. If we're recruiting them, I try to get them. And if we don't get them, I wish them well. And if we get a chance to play against them, try to kick his butt.
You mentioned Cade earlier. How is Farron doing?
He's doing okay. He actually practiced for the first time yesterday in about 3 weeks. So that was a good sight. He couldn't get all the way through. We tried to keep his condition up, but playing a game is different. So I don't think he's available tomorrow. But shoot around, he can feel a lot better. I don't want to commit to that at this point yet. But speaking of that recruiting question, it's interesting. I was watching our warm-ups against Kansas when we played them, and I recruited half their roster too. I mean, we recruited Dave McCormick and Bryce and Marcus Garrett and Ochi, and I'm looking out there like, damn, no wonder Kansas beats us because they beat us for all the players.
Well, they didn't beat you.
Not that day. Not that day.
All right.
I got the one that they really wanted.
You got the one that a lot of them really wanted. All right. Appreciate it, Mike.
Next question from Frank Bonner. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Mike, I wanted to ask you a couple more questions about Bernie. When we were talking to him, he said one of the main barriers for him was obviously, in terms of basketball-wise, was obviously the language barrier in communicating with his teams when he first got here, but also the style of play was different here. He said he had to get used to that. Now that he's been in your program, how have you seen him progress and just being comfortable with those two things?
Well, it's interesting that Bernie said the language barrier was a hindrance to him because no one talks more than Bernie. And I don't know if he cares that people don't understand him sometimes. I think he just likes to talk. So maybe from a terminology standpoint with our team in terms of concepts like that, maybe that was a challenge.
That's what he was talking about.
That kid never stops talking. But I've seen him just work at it. You know, when he got here, we talked about it before. You know, the biggest thing was you got to get in great shape. There are very little things you can do as a basketball player until you put your body in position that you can get up and down, especially the way we want to play. But he's embraced the work. He's approached the dieting part of it very seriously, and he's very conscious of doing whatever it takes to help our team play. You know, he's found his way a little bit. There's a role for him here, but it's taken him a while to understand, and it's not the same every game. You know, he started a couple of games back in December and then didn't play a couple of games, you know, and that goes to show you the true measure of a really good teammate is he never changed how he approached practice. He's still always prepared to do whatever we need him to do. And again, I'm just happy he's here and helping us.
Yeah, and being able to use him the way you have used him, obviously you don't expect him to go out and get you 20 points or anything like that. But how does he benefit you guys having the rotation of being able to put him in to take, you know, Caleb and MA out when they need to breathe and so on?
Just again, depth's important. And more important this year probably than ever because things change so fast and you could be down to a few guys like we were last week and you need guys ready to step up and do the job. So, you know, the most impressive thing about Bernie is his attitude is the same every single day. And it doesn't matter what else is going on, whether he had a good day or a bad day at class or whether he's dealing with, you know, not doing the job in the weight room. When he shows up to practice, he's focused. He's trying to figure out a way to help us. And his ability to screen and run the floor and rebound in his area are critical parts of our team having success moving forward.
Thank you, Mike.
Next question from Myron Patton. Go ahead, Myron.
Yeah, Mike, you know, a lot of people, when they talk about your class, you know, Cade is the first guy that comes up. But Iowa State, Rondell Walker, of course, he's played well for you all year. Matthew Alexander-Moncrief, 22-12. It's a class that's really has set you up not just for this year, but for the next few years. It looks like that's living up to the hype, so to speak.
Yeah, I mein, it's you know, the word that I try to hold on to every day, and the way I've tried to build this program is intentionality. And I remember sitting in those press conferences, you know, struggling to get some consistency with our group at that time, and those kids were great. It just took a little while, but having to answer questions about why we felt like we could get it done, and I believed it was because these are the guys that we were having these conversations with, not MA necessarily, but Cade and Rondell about where we wanted the future of this program to be. And we really looked to this year as a year we thought we could make a big jump. And those kids believed in that mission. Our staff was committed to it. And, you know, we never stopped working at it. And so I'm thankful that the kids have believed in it. Our administration has supported us, our fans, although I'm sure it's been frustrating not seeing the success as quickly as any of us would have liked, have really stayed the course. And that's the message we got to continue to send. So you're right. It's not just Cade. because, again, the honest truth is, he's going to play about 12 or 15 more games for us, and we're going to look to support him at the next level. But we think those other guys have a chance to continue to put us in position to be really competitive in this conference and nationally. So it's about not getting distracted, right? They can't get distracted when you win. You can't get distracted when you lose a recruit, when you blow a 19-point lead at home against West Virginia. How do you handle the process the next day? And that's all we try to do every day.
You like the fact you're stepping out of conference. You mentioned you watch Arkansas. You watch a lot of basketball. Kind of in little ways maybe like preparing for an NCAA tournament game. I know that's a little bit further down the line, I guess, this season or whatever, but you're stepping out of conference against somebody that you don't play every year.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. The challenge is here. I don't think it's going anywhere. It's a great opportunity, non-conference-wise, to get another quality opponent on the schedule. We got great respect for that program, and we know we're going to have our hands full as we get ready. And, we'll play as hard as we can, and we'll play for the families who lost loved ones in the Remember the 10 crash, and we'll play for Coach Sutton, and we'll try to put ourselves in position to make a run in the conference here after this game's over.
They remind you said they play faster than you guys. They remind you about it
significantly.
Who they remind you of? Who they remind you of? Like Kansas, because Kansas usually likes to play up and down. And who else?
Kansas doesn't play quite as fast this year. I mean, they're the fastest team we've seen all year, for sure. I mean, other than against ourselves in practice, and they're faster than that. I mean, so and they remind me of some of the classic fast teams that you've seen in college basketball. I'm talking like UNLV running Rebels type fast, and I mean, they get after it. I mean, they get up and down, and Musselman's high energy. It's the way they play. So I think we're in for a very, very entertaining basketball game tomorrow at 3:00.
Good luck.
Next question to follow up from Marshall Scott. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, to kind of get in on all the Bernie talk, whenever he, signed, whenever it was announced that he signed, it kind of looked like, a project piece. Is he ahead of the schedule that you might thought he would have been at this point?
Not for me. I don't get caught up in the stuff or the outside expectations. And part of it is there's just not information out there. I mean, it's hard. I get it. There's no reason to know he would be an impact guy. He was at a junior college last year and didn't do much. So of course he's going to be a while. But when you watch a kid work and you get to know what he's about day to day and what he values, then you realize once he gets his body in order, right, he's going to help us now. I mean, now we can't throw him the ball 10 straight possessions to ask him to score, but that's not what we asked him to come here for anyway. The recruiting conversations were honest about how he could help us have success and how we could help him put in position to enjoy college basketball. And that's all really that it is every day, is show up every day, become a good free throw shooter. As a big, if you rebound offensively, you probably gonna get fouled some. Set good screens to help your teammates, run the floor as hard as you can, and enjoy it. And that's what he's done. So I think he's doing exactly what I expected him to be able to do, regardless of what some others may have thought he was capable of.
We joked about New York earlier, and obviously Bernie's not, full-blooded New Yorker or anything, but is that an area that you feel like you still have pretty deep ties to that you could recruit from?
Absolutely. I recruit 365 days a year, and probably about 100 of those days, there's a call to somebody up in New York City about something. And it may be that a kid from Atlanta has family from New York. And maybe a kid that just moved to Texas that dad played with somebody that I know. So there's always connections there. And it's for us, it's about the right fit. And I think I've said this before. It's really more to me about making sure the guys you get actually work out for you, right? And that's been a part of our challenge, if we're being honest. We've had guys come through that haven't panned out. That hurts you much more than missing out on Bryce Thompson, so to speak, right? It's taking the guy that doesn't necessarily help you that hurts you a lot more than missing out on one that goes somewhere else and has success. So we've got to continue to do a good job evaluating and making sure that the guys understand what the expectations are when they come here. And I'll never stop recruiting New Yorkers. We're recruiting a few of those guys right now, but We only get 13. And, the moment I go to 14, I'm going to get asked why.
Probably by me.
But I'll always be at 13 when it matters.
What's I guess the sales pitch? Because you think of a kid from New York, he's got it all up there, the big city kind of life. What's kind of the sales pitch to get him to come all the way to the middle of nowhere in Stillwater, Oklahoma?
This program sells itself quite a bit, to be perfectly honest. Our conference and the competitive level of basketball in the conference is also obviously a huge selling point. But basketball is a big deal here. Football's become really good in the last 15 years, and Coach Gundy's done a great job of making that program nationally relevant. But prior to that, I don't know much about Oklahoma State football, right? And I didn't know much about Oklahoma State basketball until I started studying it. And they've been good for a long time. The first program ever to win back-to-back national championships. It's not relevant to a 19-year-old now, but it's still a fact. And so you got to continue to sell what we've been, who we are, and why can't you do it again here? We've been able to help guys be in position to play professional basketball. We play in the most competitive basketball conference in the country. You can win a national championship here. You can play in front of fans who care about the game. And so I think there's a lot of things to sell or to get kids to understand why this is a great place to be. And now having the best player in the country put his stamp of approval on it and then come here and have success certainly can't hurt that.